go dance at the Space Jam. Alright.
Welcome to an extra special video today here on the SuperPet98 YouTube channel. We're going to be checking out my Space Jam timeline, 1996 to 2021. So I'm going to go by every single year because even though there was only 2 movies, there was a lot of really cool, interesting things that happened in between both of the films. 1996, Space Jam is released into the movie theaters. Look at that amazing poster. We got the Space Jam toys, the action figures that came out, Michael Jordan Triple Play, the McDonald's exclusive Space Jam toys. Got the Nerd Lux, which I also have right here. We have the amazing Space Jam action figure toy line, one of the greatest toy lines of all time. Here they are in their original boxes. They'd usually come with a Looney Tune and a Monstar in the box. How awesome is that? This one has Charles Barkley instead of Jordan, and has got Barkley's face up here instead of Jordan's face all the time. Pretty cool. I think that was the only one to have Barkley's face. I love this toy. I had all of them as a kid, but I especially love this one because it included Swackhammer and Tweety Bird. These were the minis. I loved the minis. I still have some of them. This is the Space Jam Moron Airship. That's the space shuttle they use in the movie. One of the coolest toys ever. Rivals the coolness of the Batmobile. 1996 also gave us the comic book adaptation of the movie. It's pretty rare, but if you guys get to read it, it does include some extra things that weren't in the movie. So it includes a little bit of extra scenes and extra dialogue that wasn't in the original movie. So reading it is like you're getting to see more of what happened in the timeline of the events of the movie. This is one of the Nerd Lux guns they had as a toy, and it makes sound effects from the Nerd Lux. Really cool. Wouldn't it have been awesome if they released a gun for each of the Nerd Lux? Because they all had their own guns. Here's some of the pictures from the comic. Look how amazing this is. This is the final page. Awesome. Look at that. Here we got the Space Jam board game. I mean, it was really like Michael Jordan's Cosmic Court or whatever. I love these drawings. These are like extra drawings of the Monstars. More merchandise. We got t-shirts. The trading cards from the 1990s. Very cool. The Space Jam cookie jar. Pretty funny. Awesome Taz Toon Squad shirt. The Space Jam snow globe from the 1996. Look at that. How rare is that? In late 1996, they started releasing the final toys from the original Space Jams, unfortunately, where they released Pepe Le Pew and Patrick Ewing in a Space Jam jersey because he did not play on the Toon Squad. So that's pretty interesting. The Intergalactic All-Stars line, they renamed it, and they named it that for the final toys releases. All right, so we got the Space Jam bed sheets and blankets. I actually had this blanket when I was a kid back in the day. It's a work of art, isn't it? Look how awesome that is. The pillowcase of the Monstars rules. Look how cool these are. That is awesome. Look at that. Yeah, and look at these. Plushies of the Nerd Lux. Never saw these. Look how rare these are. Now we also got Space Jam, the video game, released in 1996. It was released for the Sony PlayStation. It was released for the Sega Saturn, which I actually own the Sega Saturn version, and for MS-DOS, so basically for Windows 95. And here is the box. Look how awesome that box is. What's extra special about the Sega Saturn version is you can play 8 players with the Sega Multitap. That's right. It's the only version you can do that. Imagine that. Space Jam plushies exclusive from McDonald's. I had these when I was a kid. How awesome is that? There's more than one Nerd Luck. The Space Jam pinball game from 1996. Very rare to see. It has sound effects and music from the movie. Look at the flyer. Classic flyer. All right, so we got this extremely rare poster I found, which I think is amazing. Look at this poster. You got the eyes of the Monstars right next to Bugs and above Jordan. How cool is that? You got the names, Not, Bang, and they have these two really awesome pictures of Not and Bang together. That's the red Monstar and the green Monstar. Here we have an image from one of the children's books they released, which had a lot of extra art in them. Very cool. Here we got the Space Jam website from 1996, which is still up to this very day. There's a lot of really cool, neat information on the website for the making of the film. Here we got more art of the boys getting beaten up by the Monstars. More art from the children's books. This is an audio book of the entire movie of Space Jam. I think you can get it on cassette. It's really excellent, and I recommend if you get a chance to listen to it, because it has a tiny bit of deleted dialogue that wasn't in the final film. It's an excellent thing for anyone who is blind. So even if you're blind, you can still experience the best movie. Here is a catalog of all the awesome books they had. Never saw that one. Or that one. I had this one. Here we got 1996 gave us the Stars of Space Jam VHS tapes. They also came in a box set all together. And here's them individually. They basically had select cartoons. And I love that now they're movie stars. Stars of Space Jam was also released on Laserdisc. I never saw this in my life. I just love that they made the Stars of Space Jam VHS tapes because it continued the legacy of Space Jam after the movie was released. 1996 also gave us the Daffy Duck Show that aired on the Kids WB. It used the stylized logo from the Space Jam logo in it, and the ads and promos and the intro featured a very 90s hip-hop-esque intro with Daffy Duck. The duck is in the house. Bugs and Daffy was also a program that first began airing in 1996 on Kids WB, and I put it here because it used a logo that I think looks like the Space Jam logo also. It doesn't look as much like the Space Jam logo as the Daffy Duck Show logo does, but it's still, I feel like it has that logo to it that Space Jam has, though. And Bugs and Daffy aired on Kids WB from 1996 to the year 2000. Here we got the McDonald's Space Jam commercial, which was pretty amazing because they went out of the movie and into, well, Daffy did, and hopped into McDonald's and then went back into the movie and grabbed toys of themselves. That is just mind-blowing, especially as a kid to see that. And as a kid, I didn't just love Space Jam. I loved the Looney Tunes in general, but I also loved the Daffy Duck Show. I loved seeing that intro back in the day. That was amazing. I got so excited for that. These extremely rare plushies of all 5 of the Nerdlucks, how awesome is that? What a lucky person that is who has those. Full Court Press, another awesome badass Space Jam shirt. There were a lot of Space Jam shirts. This is a license plate, a Space Jam, a custom-made Daffy license plate for your car. Space Jam lunchboxes. Awesome, look at that. Rare artwork. And also, like, Bugs here is on Moron Mountain, I think. And that doesn't happen in the movie. One of the coolest, most badass Space Jam t-shirts from back in the 90s was Taz ripping through the Nerdlucks in the background. Taz had a lot of t-shirts, Space Jam t-shirts and merchandise after Space Jam. Here we have an episode of Friends where Phoebe walks by a Space Jam Bugs Bunny poster. This episode could be from 1995, like a year before the movie was released, or it could be the year Space Jam was released in 1996. I don't know. If you're a big Friends fan, tell me if you noticed this poster in this particular episode where she's walking by in the subway. Here we got a really awesome t-shirt of the original Space Jam, and look at the detail. They didn't have as much detail when they had the merch for the new movie. Isn't this weird? Like, where's his jersey? Beep beep. Where's the Roadrunner's jersey? He wore one in the movie, but we didn't get to see Roadrunner play on the court. But we did get to see him play on the court on the Toon Squad in New Legacy. They improved that for Roadrunner in the sequel. All right, now we got 1997, 1 year after Space Jam. The jam continues with the official release of the Space Jam movie soundtrack. Phenomenal soundtrack, one of the best soundtracks you'll ever hear. It also includes a lot of exclusive songs that weren't in the movie, that could have fit in the movie. 1997 also gave us the VHS release of Space Jam, one of the greatest VHS tapes of all time, including the art. It also included the special silver coin. I put The Daffy Duck Show in 1997 because episodes for The Daffy Duck Show still aired in 1997. So episodes were airing in 1996 and 1997. We also had the release of Space Jam on Laserdisc. It had this extra art inside where Laserdiscs were kind of like vinyl, but never saw that in my life. I put this in here because of the amazing nature of this. The greatest basketball player in the universe and the best loved rabbit on earth. Now on a video that's out of this world. Awesome. And then also promotes the soundtrack over there. Look at this. Look at this rare promo art. It was, back in the day, guys, seriously one of the best VHS releases, if not the best. Still got episodes of Bugs and Daffy airing on Kids WB. Here's an extremely rare Own It on Video long poster that you'd probably see in Blockbuster or Toys R Us or whatever back in the day. Look at this art of Bang. Rare art of all of them. So cool. Also, actually, 97 was the early DVD release of Space Jam. And back in the late 90s, guys, like most people did not buy DVDs. The menus on the original Space Jam DVD were really awesome that weren't there in the later releases. So you get some extra stuff and some extra detail on behind the scenes of the film. And some extra rare art, too. 1997 also gave us the amazing Space Jam music videos for certain songs. Here we got R. Kelly's Believe I Can Fly. I always loved this music video as a kid because he's like filming it with the weather and everything, and like the film is playing on the billboard. It's just such a 90s vibe to it, and I love it. Here you got the Space Jam logo on the floor when he's singing with the choir. They had him like in a grass field where they had this giant a movie playing in the background while he sang. So it was like an abandoned drive-in movie theater. They were playing Space Jam like with the sunset. It was just so warm and fuzzy, the feeling it gave. It was like like a down-to-earth, warm and fuzzy 90s vibe, I guess. It's hard to describe. We don't have this nowadays. 1997 also gave us the Coolio music video of his song called The Winner, which is not featured in the movie. And it has these two boys that are playing hooky and leaving school, and they watch Space Jam on the bus on a laptop. I mean, this is the late 90s. I mean, these were rare to come by. Also, I mean, it's so weird, isn't it? Then they sneak into a movie theater and watch Space Jam in the theaters, and that's something I would do. And they're having a great time watching Space Jam. Yeah, see, this is the stuff back in the day they don't do now, you know? Yes, the Hit 'Em High music video, the official theme of the Monstars, had 5 very famous rappers who came together to form the theme song for the Monstars. You can hear a little bit of the song in the movie. This music video is one of the greatest music videos of all time. Rest in peace to Coolio. Man, this music video was amazing. It had the number 0 on all their jerseys. And it had footage of the Monstars in it, and even Swackhammer appears in the music video, the boss to the Monstars. I highly recommend watch that video. Here we got the single of release. I always loved this image. You got the Hit 'Em High, right? Monstars anthem. All the rappers, right? They give a Monstar to all 5 of the rappers, which is awesome that they did that. Look how cool that is. You got this rare sticker here. I like the logo they did for Space Jam there. We got the Seal music video of a cover of Fly Like an Eagle. I loved this song back in the day. This is Kid Michael in the air. So even for the music video, they had the actor who played MJ as a kid in the movie appear in the music video in different scenes where he's flying in the air. Look at that. Awesome. And it has some really cool, interesting ways they had MJ wearing the Toon Squad jersey, and footage of the movie is in it too. Amazing song. Better than the original. Monica's music video. The cutie Monica from back in the day. For You I Will. Look at that adorable hat she has. In the music video, she goes into like this abandoned movie theater and Space Jam happens to start playing. It's like an old broken down movie theater. And again, it's like it's warm. It's got like colors of yellow and brown. And it's just so like, I don't know. It was a late 90s thing. And the shows on the WB11 back in the day had this kind of brownish, yellowish autumn vibe to it. And I loved that. And she was watching the movie. And the song was For You I Will, one of the greatest songs from the soundtrack. In this music video, they show a clip of Bugs sacrificing his life to save Lola's. That's what the song's about, guys. For you I will. For you I will die. Like that line she says, she's talking about Bugs sacrificing his life to save Lola's. And yes, it does make sense because they are more stronger than the Looney Tunes. So even though he may not have died, he still got badly hurt, though. That's right. So it still means something. Space Jam Rappers 97. This was a extremely rare cassette tape. Space Jam 97, The Rappers. It includes all the rap songs from the soundtrack on it. Space Jam Rappers 97. Now we have to talk about the original Space Jam 2 that was canceled. One of the saddest stories ever. This is artwork for the original villain of Space Jam 2 that they worked on, and they called him Berserk-O. Everyone will feel mixed about this design, but I like it. I mean, it's a villain, and I think it's kind of cool. Here's what fans thought the logo for Space Jam 2 would have been. This is kind of like my concept of what the tape could have looked like, because I put the logo in the same spot. They worked on Space Jam 2 for about 2 weeks, and then it was canceled because Michael Jordan said he didn't want to do it. So because MJ wasn't in it, they canceled it. And I reject that idea. Michael Jordan was only one of the great things about Space Jam. They still should have made the movie, and with another athlete. I mean, fuck that. Think about it. We could have gotten Space Jam 2. It didn't have to have Michael Jordan in it. I'm sorry. It didn't. So this is them talking about creating Berserk-O. His eyeball on top of his head was inspired by the Von Dutch logo. I colored this in, by the way. This didn't have any color. I just kind of figured red and purple kind of looked good. I don't know. So apparently they had plans to X Mel Brooks to do the voice for the villain Berserk-O for Space Jam 2. And that's interesting because if you look at the artwork for Berserk-O, he had a big honker of a nose, and so did Mel. So does Mel. Mel's still alive. Love Mel Brooks. I'm not insulting his nose. I like big noses. I don't care. But it's too bad because they had Danny DeVito be the voice for Swackhammer in the original, so they wanted another funny comedian to voice the villain in the sequel, and that would have been awesome to have Mel be the voice of Berserk-O. Come on. Space Jam 2, here we have original writings. Aw, that's so sad, isn't it? I just feel sad seeing that. Just sad. These, from an article I read, Warner Brothers execs assumed, I underline that on purpose, audiences would be less interested in a sequel without Jordan. Yeah, okay, they would be less interested, but there'd be a lot of kids that would have loved it, like me. So, fuck you guys for not making this back then. 1998. So, Bugs and Daffy's still airing, and these are the beginning of the MCI commercials, where Michael Jordan was in commercials with the Looney Tunes still. They make little references to Space Jam in the commercials, so it's kind of cool. In this commercial, and this was the first one that aired, they sing a song called I Believe I Can Call. So it's like a parody of I Believe I Can Fly. And the commercials were like promoting this MCI service where you can call people for like 99 cents or something. I don't think they have stuff like this today. But it was just cool to still see him in the commercials with them. There was about 7 commercials that aired. These are the ones from 1998. Here's him hanging out with Taz, hanging out with Daffy, Bugs and Jordan doing a news brief. Get it? News brief. 1998. Space Jam's still alive. 1998. A little bit. Life support. 1998. The Monstars actually make a cameo appearance in a Pinky and the Brain episode, which you can tell is a parody of Star Wars. This is the date it aired. And apparently it's the final episode of Pinky and the Brain. That's pretty cool, huh? So we also have this year the Game Boy Color game Looney Tunes Carrot Crazy, which is the first appearance of Lola Bunny in a video game. It was released in Europe in 1998 and in North America in 1999. So because I include it here because Lola, she was established as a Space Jam character, but Lola appearing after Space Jam, it's like it shows that the spirit of Space Jam is still there. It's still alive somehow because when people think of Lola Bunny, they really strongly think of Space Jam for the most part. Now, what's interesting is that we've got a giant red Monstar here, which is not one of the original Monstars. The red Monstar not was the small Monstar. You see. So that's kind of neat. It's like an original Monstar they have here. Or, it doesn't really mean much, but 1998, there was a Famicom game, that's the NES in Japan, it was one of those hack fake, video games from 1998. I don't even know if the Looney Tunes are in it. 1999, we have more MCI commercials. Bugs and Daffy's still airing. We have this cute commercial with Tweety Bird thinking he's related to Larry Bird. And I like that because, again, Larry Bird was a part of Space Jam. So, again, it's a Space Jam connection. We have late 1999 commercials. So this is Christmas time. December commercials where Elmer Fudd is calling up Michael Jordan in the middle of bed to annoy him. I like that Jordan gets pissed at him in this commercial. He gets testy with him because that's like in the original Space Jam when he gets irritated by the tunes, because Jordan was like the straight man to their zaniness. So I loved that. Here we got a great shot of a commercial with Foghorn Leghorn and MJ. Here we got Jordan and Wiley, 1999. It's him celebrating the end of the year. That's what that was. Christmas time. The Christmas tree knocks over Jordan. And that's also kind of like the stuff that happened in the original Space Jam. A rare commercial aired in the UK for some mediocre chip line. It was live action with the Looney Tunes. It showed Lola Bunny about to get killed and eaten by sharks, and she's dangling from a rope. And her voice sounds like it's Lil from the Rugrats. So it's not the original voice of Lola, but this commercial is mind-blowing. I mean, 1999, a live-action commercial with the Looney Tunes with Lola in it. It kind of feels like a deleted scene of some torture scene from the original Space Jam. And it's just cool that it's here. You got Porky over there, about to be turned to a hamburger. Late 1999, Kids WB starting airing these promos about the Maloonie not the millennium, not the new millennium of the year 2000, the Maloonie And here, there was a promo they had where Bugs was dancing with Lola Bunny. So it shows that they were still a couple in 1999. Still the spirit of Space Jam. Pretty cool. 1999, we have the North American release of Carrot Crazy for the Game Boy Color. Like I said, the first appearance of Lola in a video game. Look at the art. Here she is with the boys. It makes you think of Space Jam, right? It's like the Space Jam vibe is still here. With Lola and everything and Bugs. Awesome. Never played this game, though. Alright, the year 2000. So Bugs and Daffy has their final year of episodes. This amazing commercial, MCI commercial aired where Bugs is trying out new recruits for a potential new Toon Squad team without a villain. So it's interesting. And we have Hippity Hopper making a slam dunk. And he should have played in the original. In fact, Hippity Hopper should have played on the Toon Squad in New Legacy. This is an amazing commercial. Check it out. We also have the final MCI commercial where Jordan has a phone call with Sniffles the mouse. Yes, the mouse that got a basketball slammed on his head in the original Space Jam. And just like in the original Space Jam, in this commercial, when he's talking to Michael on the phone, he doesn't shut the fuck up. And that's hilarious because that's like a continuation of the Space Jam lore from the first movie. And here it is in the commercial. This is a very charming little cute commercial. And doesn't Sniffles the mouse here look like Feifel from An American Tail? The year 2000 also gave us the game Looney Tunes Space Race, released on the Sega Dreamcast. I actually owned this game back in the day. Now, it really it's not technically anything to do with Space Jam, but because space is in the title, it makes you think of Space Jam. And also they're, on other strange planets, so it's also kind of like Moron Mountain. But also, Lola Bunny is the announcer in the game. So it doesn't exactly have to do with Space Jam, but it kind of is like Space Jam because Lola is the announcer too. So it's sort of like Space Jam, just without basketball. Year 2000, we have the movie Tweety's High Flying Adventure, where Lola Bunny is a news reporter. She has a very short scene, though. Year 2001, the Looney Tunes comic book series began in like 94. And if you guys ever got to read any of these Looney Tunes comics from DC, they're amazing. They really are amazing comics. I do own a couple from back in the day, but they're so underrated because these are all the kind of cartoons we could have been getting in the late 90s instead of the reruns. They could have done both. So really, the comics continued like the original Looney Tunes. And in 2001, Lola Bunny made her first appearance in the Looney Tunes comic books. Lola Bunny's back. How cool is that? Isn't that cute? She's making the reference to Bugs Bunny when he's reading the map. I love that. Here she is delivering pizza with Tweety. Good stuff. Issue number 80. To find the comics of Lola Bunny, it's extremely rare, and I don't know what issues she's in. So I can assume that most of these are from the early 2000s. So can I assume this is probably from the year 2001, Bugs and Lola, Tortoise and the Hares, which is a parody of the original title of the old episodes where Bugs raced that turtle, Cecil Turtle. This is a cute moment where she's like, whatever, but that wouldn't be cheating. They're arguing about their relationship while still being in love with each other. They gave Lola a bunch of things to do, like she became a pizza delivery girl. It was cool to see them put Lola in these other scenarios where we get to see what Lola would do in a more Looney Tunes-esque scenario. Here she is getting pissed off, kind of like how she got pissed in the original when she said, "Don't call me doll." This is cool, a cool moment. Bugs and Lola rollerblading together. Cute stuff in the early 2000s, you know. Here we see her doing a parody of Laura Croft, which makes sense because Lola and Laura Croft were pretty much like the tomboys of the 90s. But which girl did it better? Which chick did it better? Here she is getting pissed off at delivering pizza or whatever. I quit! Here we got more stuff of her delivering pizza. Pretty funny. Lola Bunny. Early 2000s. Now, a lot of these comics, they're definitely from the year 2001, or definitely, these comics were also from 2002, 2003, and 2004 and 5. But I don't know what issues that she's in, guys. It's extremely rare to find. So you got these here, Lola being a model, and it's in a funny way where she still acts loony. There is a loony side to Lola. Like, she isn't just a sex symbol, she's also loony like the Looney Tunes, so I like that about her, where she can do everything. She can be a tough girl, she can be a girly girl. Lola has that kind of balance that you want in a girlfriend. The year 2002, we have Looney Tunes Space Race, released for the PlayStation 2. Again, it just makes you think of Space Jam at the time. Like, if you didn't get to play it, you'd think it might be a Space Jam thing. Baby Looney Tunes first airs on the Cartoon Network. Baby Looney Tunes was basically a pretty great show. It was kind of like the Rugrats, but with the Looney Tunes. Lola Bunny was a baby Looney Tune, so it still continued the character we love from Space Jam. She still had her purple bow and everything. These are the episodes. These are the years the episodes aired. So 2002 is when Baby Looney Tunes began. It also aired on Kids WB, apparently. I did not know that. 2002, we have apparently this rare UK release of Space Jam and Osmosis Jones together in one box set. I think that's pretty damn cool. I never knew this existed back in the day, but I love the box. And it makes me wonder why they even paired them together in the first place here. Is it because both of these films have to do with Bill Murray? Like, Bill Murray's in both of them, and Osmosis Jones kind of mixes live action with animation, kind of, but it's mostly separate. But still, both films have their own unique world, right? And also, they feature both Bill Murray in them. The year 2003, we have a Baby Looney Tunes movie, The Extraordinary Adventure. Don't remember this, but I'm sure it's just as good as the show, them just doing a cute little egg hunt. There's Lola Bunny as a baby. 2003 was also the special edition DVD release of Space Jam. I owned this back in the day, and I highly recommend this DVD for any Space Jam fan. If you love Space Jam, then you should have this. You should own this. You can still buy it. It has all these extra special features that aren't even on the Blu-rays at all, even to this day. So you need to get this. And it comes in like this awesome holographic silver. This was amazing to own back in the day. Awesome, really awesome. Also, 2003 gave us the amazing Looney Tunes Back in Action, which had a small cameo of Michael Jordan with a scene of him talking about doing some drills in the original Space Jam. And it blew my mind as a kid to see this. And I loved Daffy's reaction. He was like, this doesn't make a lick of sense. And all of us fans who watched it, we were like, what does this mean? It's so confusing. So I really think the DVD version, the special edition of Space Jam came out in 2003 because 2003 was also the year that Looney Tunes Back in Action came out. So Back in Action made people think of the original Space Jam. So why not bring back Space Jam on DVD? Awesome. 2003, we have another Looney Tunes comic. I picked this one out in particular because Lola is in the crowd. There she is cheering on her man. The 100th issue of Looney Tunes comic. 2004, more episodes air of reruns of Baby Looney Tunes. 2005, the Looney Tunes Webtoons cartoons were very rare. I knew about them back in the day, but I didn't get to watch too much of them. I now own them on DVD. Lola Bunny only appeared in one episode where Bugs was like flirting with her on the phone. It was a really funny, actually, memorable episode. It was called Dating Do's and Don'ts. 2005, we have the show known as Lunatics Unleashed. Regardless of how you feel about the show, it's important to mention this because there's a pink character in the show called Lexi Bunny, and she is the version of Lola Bunny in Lunatics. So again, it's continuing Space Jam kind of because Lola's still around. I think the cartoon's cool, but I never got to watch too much of it. So first began airing in 2005. These are the seasons. Yep, Lexi Bunny, there she is. Her and Bugs. 2005, the final episodes of Baby Looney Tunes aired. 2005. Alright, 2006, we still got new episodes airing of the Lunatics Unleashed, so Lola Bunny's still around. 2007, we have another comic book I was able to find. Again, these are extremely rare, guys. Where Daffy's gambling, and we got Lola and Bugs together, showing that there's still a couple. Still the original version of Lola Bunny. 2007 was also this DVD release that I think a lot of people bought, and it's pretty damn cool, but it's kind of weird. It includes it's a 4-pack of Space Jam, Looney Tunes Back in Action, Osmosis Jones, and Funky Monkey, a movie I never heard of before this came out. It's weird. I think it's kind of insulting they included Funky Monkey. I mean, you got 3 great movies, and then they include this piece of trash. But, Funky Monkey's one of those films where it makes you laugh, but for all the wrong reasons. It's like so bad it's good, I remember at the time in the late 2000s, Warner Brothers started releasing these 4-pack of DVDs, these DVD 4-packs, and I loved that stuff, and this was awesome at the time. 2008 was the release of the 6th Looney Tunes Golden Collection, which gave us the World War II Looney Tunes cartoons. The rare ones, the controversial ones, where they fight Adolf Hitler and the Germans and the Japanese and stuff like that, which, of course, like the old Looney Tunes cartoons were a product of their time. Now, this actually does have to do with Space Jam, and that's why I included it in 2008. Because in the movie Space Jam, and I'm going to talk about this in another video in full, Bugs presents himself as a commander or a general, and he even has stars on his hat, I think in one clip, and he's standing in front of the American flag. This is actually an indication and showing you that Bugs actually did fight in World War II back in the day. It's true. You can see Bugs' old cartoons where he fought the Japanese and the Germans. So Space Jam actually does make reference to the fact that Bugs has fought in war before. So the fact that this was released in 2008, it just it makes me think of that scene in Space Jam. 2009, we have the Looney Tunes Spotlight Collection, number 7. Not much to say about this, though, but still, it's cool. 2010, we have the book release of the 100 Greatest Looney Tunes Cartoons. Pretty cool. Now, technically, this in 2010 and this in 2009, they really don't have anything to do with Space Jam, but these are the only 2 years in this timeline where they didn't do anything related to Space Jam, really. But still, these are the cartoons that would inspire movies like Space Jam down the line. So it has to do a little bit with Space Jam. 2011, we have this special Pepe Le Pew DVD of all of his cartoons on on a 2-disc set. This DVD is now extremely rare. The best of the best. They're funny cartoons. I love Pepe Le Pew, and it's interesting. And this does have to do with Space Jam because now we know what happened, and Pepe was left out of the Toon Squad in Space Jam 2. So really, this is like the final DVD release of Pepe Le Pew ever in 2011. So really, this does have to do with Space Jam because of what they did by excluding him from the Toon Squad later on. So this really is the final year where Pepe had a release and is still considered a member of the Looney Tunes, a memorable character. It's kind of like a Rest in Peace DVD. 2012, we have the Platinum Collection Volume 1. So this is the first time the Looney Tunes were released on Blu-ray. Kind of stupid because I don't give a shit that it's on Blu-ray. But they made this an extra special Blu-ray because it included a book, and it includes every single cartoon that both Taz and Marvin were in. And both Taz and Marvin were only in 5 cartoons back in the day. So what does this have to do with Space Jam? Well, I talked about it in another video, but basically, Taz and Marvin, their stars grew larger as time went on. And by the 90s, because of the movie Space Jam, Marvin and Taz they were confirmed superstars. They were already stars before Space Jam, but Space Jam cemented them as being superstars. Because both Marvin and Taz have like some of the highest selling merchandise of Looney Tunes products. And really, Space Jam was the return of more Taz and more Marvin. Because again, back in the day, they only had 5 cartoons to their name. And I think the cartoon Tasmania came out 1 year before Space Jam, something like that. Especially the t-shirts of Taz on the Toon Squad sold a lot after Space Jam was released. I include this in the timeline of Space Jam because it's honoring Taz and Marvin, this Blu-ray, this release. So it does have to do with Space Jam, this Platinum Collection. 2013 was this special DVD. I don't know, I guess this is their opinion of the 50 greatest Looney Tunes cartoons. I always loved this cover. This was the only year, really, that this doesn't have to do with Space Jam, but it's the only thing I can really find of significance. 2013 was a slow year. 2014, the Looney Tunes comics are still going strong, and they're still going on today, by the way. Here we got a mystery thriller, and Lola Bunny is one of the cops. So I included it. Still going on with the original version of Lola Bunny in 2014. This is very significant because 2013 and 14 were when the Looney Tunes show first aired. The new one, the crappy one. I know there's fans for it, but that version of the Looney Tunes introduced the new version of Lola Bunny, which I actually kind of like her in that, but I love the original version way more. But what's interesting is that this comic came out at the same time that the Looney Tunes show was still airing, and in the comics, they showed that the original version of Lola Bunny was still alive and well. So here we have the original version of Lola that's still in the comics. So the comics always remained the original Looney Tunes. That's interesting. This is like the only year where both the original Lola and the Looney Tunes show Lola were both in existence at the same time. 2014 is actually a pretty special year because in February, Warner Brothers announced the development of the sequel that would star LeBron James, and the script was written. In 2014, LeBron James was quoted saying, "I've always loved Space Jam. It was one of my favorite movies growing up. If I have an opportunity, it will be great." Now, say what you want about LeBron James, but I respect the fact that he loves the Looney Tunes because I love the Looney Tunes. So that's why I appreciate the fact that when he made interviews about Space Jam 2, he said he wanted to take his time with the movie to make a great movie. And I think they made a great movie in New Legacy. So despite his controversy, the man still loved the Looney Tunes and grew up loving Space Jam. So to me, I viewed that as a sign that Space Jam was in good hands because he didn't want to soil the reputation of Space Jam. And I honestly really don't think they did. I think A New Legacy was a good movie. I'm sorry. This is like the first instance where LeBron came up with this idea of a sequel happening where he's in it. It's like the first breakthrough, the beginning of the journey to Space Jam: A New Legacy, the sequel. 2014 aired a Robot Chicken skit called Golf Jam, and it's a parody of Space Jam, so I included it here. And back in the day, after the original Space Jam in 1997, they considered making a Space Jam movie with Tiger Woods, which would have been really interesting. So instead of basketball, it would have had to do with golf. And here it's the Deke version instead of Warner Brothers, and here you got all the Deke characters, Street Sharks, Heathcliff. The skit wasn't very funny, but still, it made me think of Space Jam and all the possibilities of what we could have gotten. They should have made Golf Jam. 2015, James and his studio Spring Hill Entertainment signed a deal with Warner Brothers to basically cement more the idea that they're going to team up to make Space Jam 2 and stuff. And also, this mentions that pretty much Warner Brothers was more open to making this movie, this new Space Jam with LeBron, because of his positive reviews for his role in the movie Trainwreck. Maybe Trainwreck is a train wreck. I never watched that comedy with LeBron James in it. Do you guys think it sucks? Was he bad in it? Or was it actually a little bit funny? Because some people liked him in that movie, so I don't know. I never saw it. So, whatever. 2016, the original Space Jam returned to theaters. It aired in the movie theaters in only 2 days, November 13th and 16th. And I was there both days. I still have my movie ticket, and it was excellent to see Space Jam on the big screen again. Wow, it was just an amazing, nostalgic experience to me. I was so happy I went both days. I went with my girlfriend and my friends. I loved it, and it made me appreciate Space Jam all over again because 2016 was the 20th anniversary of Space Jam. So Space Jam was coming back, baby. It was returning. All the glory from the late 90s was finally coming back after all these years of nothing. When the 20th anniversary happened, they had new stuff come out, and it made me excited. It reminded me of why I loved Space Jam so much. 2016, there were these new commercials that aired with the basketball star Blake Griffin. Now, this is before there was this controversy with Blake that I forget what the controversy was. But these were commercials that aired that were promoting with Marvin the Martian, and they were promoting this new Nike shoe that is colored after Marvin the Martian. I actually own these sneakers. I loved this commercial because it was like Space Jam again. And the commercial was like a mini movie. It was like Space Jam. They're playing basketball, live action with cartoons, and Marvin is playing basketball in this commercial, and it's awesome. This aired right after the original Space Jam returned to theaters, and it made fans theorize that, oh, okay, so they're planning on making Space Jam 2 starring Blake Griffin and not LeBron James. That's what everyone thought at the time, but apparently that never happened. Would he have been better as the lead role in Space Jam 2 instead of LeBron James? Interesting, right? What do you guys think? Let me know. I just loved the commercial, and I was so pissed that Marvin didn't play on the Toon Squad in New Legacy. Because here he fucking is playing basketball in a commercial that's like Space Jam. What the fuck? Don't tell me he's not a Looney Tune that he can't play basketball. What do you call this shit? 2016 was the return of the Monstars in commercial form. Very cool. They had these really awesome commercials where the Monstars returned, and they called it #Monstars, where they had billboards and the Monstars stole a gym in a commercial. They wrote the sign to them. And it was weird. It was like preparing people and making people remember and feel nostalgic for the Monstars again. And it made you think, oh, okay, so Space Jam 2 is going to have the Monstars return? But no, they only returned in the commercials, in the 2016 commercials. I think there was only 1 or 2 of them. And here we got Blake Griffin again in the commercial with Bugs Bunny. In the commercial, Blake Griffin is like the hero of the commercial, and here he is wearing a Toon Squad jersey. You see, guys? Of course we thought that Blake was going to be the new star of Space Jam: New Legacy. Look at what they did. And I love the new art they made for the Monstars. Here you got the posters they had where they're like, you lose. And they even had a Monstars blimp. Now, of course, this technically doesn't make sense from a canon perspective because the Monstars were defeated, they shrunk down and became the Nerdlucks at the end of the original movie. But still, I guess this is kind of like if it was an alternate universe where the Monstars were still bad and they didn't become the Nerdlucks again. I think that's what this is. I mean, it's a neat way to bring the Monstars back without it not ruining the ending of the original movie. But still, if they could have had the Monstars return in A New Legacy, and maybe they could have fought the Goon Squad, and the Monstars could have been on the Toon Squad or something, that would have been amazing. They could still do that for Space Jam 3. But, it's like all we get is this commercial. And people were pissed because when they show the Monstars at the end of the commercial, it's just recycled animation of what they were from the original Space Jam. So it's not new animation. They tried to make them look new because they kind of HD'd it up. And they changed the lighting of the room they were in. But as a fan of the original movie, you can tell it's the same animation from the original. Why do they have to be so damn lazy? Why couldn't they just make new animation of the Monstars? Come on. Jeez. We haven't seen them in 20 years, and it's amazing they returned, but then you're going to return them without giving the new animation? Really? The Monstars are coming. These were the new ads where the Monstars they returned briefly for like 2016. And again, seeing this commercial where it says the Monstars are coming. Okay, so they're coming, so like they're coming back? So like you mean like in the sequel? I mean, that's what this kind of made you think. So it's like, what the fuck? Right? Did anyone else think this back then? That's what went through my head. It was confusing, I think, to most fans because I think everyone was like, what even is this? Now, for the most part, these commercials were promoting the new Monstar 20th anniversary Nike Jordan sneakers, which were awesome, and they were stylized after the Monstars. We'll get there. But it could have been something more, right? So they had this skull that appeared at the end of each of the Monstars commercials. Did any of you figure out what that skull is? Because I did. That skull is from the original scene in Space Jam where Bugs says, "I'm a Shakespearean actor." That's where they got the skull from. Because he's kind of like holding a dead Looney Tune in his hand. The whole idea of the Monstars was that they wanted to crush and kill the Looney Tunes. Kind of. I thought that was amazing to see that. And it took me a while to figure out, like, why are they showing this at the end of the commercial? And I dug deep into my mind, and there it was. And now you guys know. How awesome is that? Also, this is probably the most significant page on this timeline. 2016, and only that year, they released this special box, which is now extremely, extremely rare, which included the new Monstar Jordan sneakers. It had like a little book in it, and it included a drink, a cup of Monstar's secret stuff. That's right, not Jordan's secret stuff, the Monstar's secret stuff. I mean, mind-blowing, right? I mean, that doesn't even make any sense, thinking about the movie. The Monstars didn't need any secret stuff. They were the secret stuff. They were stronger than the Looney Tunes, so they didn't need that. But it was really cool to see that. And now, whoever you are, if you bought that box, which was extremely rare to get, you probably had to mail order it or knew someone at Warner Bros. At the time to get it. Because now, I could not find an image of Monstar's secret stuff on the internet. I can't find it. The only reason I have this is because I saved it years ago and I put it in a collection of pictures. But when I tried to look it up on the internet to make this video, I couldn't find anything. It's like an anomaly. This is like the holy grail of Space Jam merchandise because you can only get this Monstar's secret stuff bottle inside of that box. It was like a black box. It said Monstars back, Defy. It was like purple, right? And in black. And it included the sneakers and a little booklet in it, I think. And it just included this. And it is a secret. It's a secret. Like, where is it now? Does anyone own that anymore? And if you guys still own that, the Monstars secret stuff bottle, hold on to that because that is the rarest Space Jam item out there. That is not fan art. I swear to God, that is from the box. You can even see a little bit of the box here at the top. Like there's like the foam, We have new Monstars merchandise, the new jersey they released with the newfangled logo. Pretty cool. Look at that. And this amazing badass poster, this 3D image of one of the hands of the Monstars sticking out of the rings. This is, of course, the purple Monstar Bupkis, the color purple of the sneaker. I think they chose Bupkis for this poster because Bupkis, the purple Monstar, is the most popular of the Monstars, by the way. Here you got sneakers that are colored after Pound and Bupkis. Pound is the orange Monstar. You can tell a Space Jam fan when they know all the names of the Monstars and the Nerdlucks. Because most people refer to them as the aliens, which I can't blame people, because in the original movie they did not say the names of the aliens. But in the merchandise and the toys after the movie was released, they gave them names. And I remember them because I love the toys. I love that the sneakers have the number 0, like their jerseys, and these are like the scales that all the Monstars have, and they included it on the sneaker. It's kind of like if the Monstars were murdered and their skin was used for sneakers. Defy. Now, what I love about this is that it includes a shot of the moon, because the moon appears like 3 times in the original Space Jam. But it would have been cooler if it was the Moron Mountain planet in the background instead of just the moon, you know. They had a museum at the time where they had like a little gym they made with memorabilia for the Monstars. And they had new merchandise for a little while. And these are really cool art they had where it showed video footage of Space Jam and even some of the footage of the video game is here. And these were really cool art they made. This is that special room they only had for like 1 or 2 years. And I don't know how the hell these people got in here because I was pissed at the time because I was like, I want to be here. Why can't I come? I wish this was like a theme park. I wish that there was like a Space Jam Dave and Buster's place where any fan can go of Space Jam. How come all these special people get to go? What about everyone else? I want to fucking be there. 2016 was also the new Blu-ray release for the original Space Jam. The Blu-ray is actually not that special. It doesn't look any better than the DVD. So the the Blu-ray itself is disappointing. But the case was awesome. Here's the cover for the steel Blu-ray case. I love it. Now, someone said that the cover, they don't like it because it looks a little too much like, a little too artsy. But I liked it because it was different. Because it was not the usual cover we'd expect. So I kind of felt like the cover gave new life to Space Jam. Even though I didn't agree with every piece of art they used, it was still cool to see it in a different way. And I love that they gave a new logo, red and blue. This is the Monstars when the Nerdlucks when they were cheerleaders. You got the Toon Dome. Isn't that cool? They included the Toon Dome, the Toon Stadium that they had the big game in. And there was more art inside when you opened it. So that's a very special Blu-ray set to me. I'll always remember the day I got it and how excited I was. 2016 also was release of the DVD double feature set of Space Jam and Looney Tunes Back in Action. Love that cover. 2016, a Justice League comic came out. They showed the Looney Tunes as the Justice League. Lola Bunny was Wonder Woman. I think that's really interesting because Lola Bunny was part of Wonder Woman's tribe in Space Jam New Legacy. So she was kind of becoming Wonder Woman in New Legacy. And here she was as Wonder Woman years before New Legacy came out. So this comic is like showing the future. And so the idea of Lola being part of Wonder Woman's tribe, did it come from stuff they did before? Did it come from this comic? Also, I remember there was an episode of the old 2000s cartoon, Duck Dodgers, where Daffy did actually become the Green Lantern. 2016, on Inside the NBA, they re-released and showed off Michael Jordan's sneakers from the original Space Jam. It was a re-release. Here it is in the original movie. That was the sneakers he wore during the big game, the Air Jordan 11s. And that was the special re-release. They also had an episode that year where Ernie was joking around on Inside the NBA and he showed them pictures of each of the Monstars and tried to do trivia on the boys to see if they knew each Monstar belonged to which player. Charles was Pound. And this was them testing him. And he didn't know that he was Pound, and they were like, you're wrong, you were Pound. And Charles was like, wait a minute, you made me a big orange guy? I can't believe you guys did this to me. You made me into that? You didn't know that? Come on, Charles. Come on, man. Come on, man. That's like what he always says. Come on, man. 2016, I believe, was the year that the first Space Jam Funko Pops were released. I didn't think these were that special, but I got into them at the time because they re-released Swaghammer. This is the first Swaghammer toy in 20 years. So I was like, all right, I'll get Swaghammer and I'll get Marvin as the ref. I don't have the other releases, but they're pretty cool though. All this stuff was getting me excited for the new Space Jam, and I thought it was supposed to come out in 2019, but they wanted more time to complete it. So I thought Space Jam New Legacy or Space Jam 2, I thought it was going to come out in 2017. But no, it didn't happen. It was supposed to come out for the 20th anniversary or whatever, not the 25th. But anyway, they took their time, and that's what happened. 2016, Justin Lin signed on to the project as the director. He winded up being the producer as time went on. Kobe Bryant also expressed interest in directing the film. Wow, I didn't know that. Kobe considered directing the movie? That's sad. Rest in peace to Kobe. How cool would have that been, guys? Kobe directing Space Jam 2? But Kobe should have been in Space Jam 2. I even saw an interview where someone was asking Kobe, how come you weren't in the original Space Jam? And I don't remember what he said, but though he was uninterested in a cameo appearance. Really? Come on. Come on, Kobe. August 2018, he left the project, and Terrence Nash was hired to direct the film, but Justin Lin still signed on as a producer, I believe. So at the time, in 2016, since I didn't have much to go off of, I was excited for the sequel, so I looked up his filmography. Since at the time they said he was going to direct the film, I got worried, and I was like, well, what did this guy make? Is Space Jam going to be in good hands? So, for the most part, he directed a lot of Fast and Furious movies. And, those movies are decent, right? It kind of made me think, well, that's kind of like Space Jam, right? Something fast and quick, like basketball, fantasy mixed in with live action, cars, and it's kind of like a Space Jam kind of movie. So I thought maybe this could work, but I was still unsure. Star Trek Beyond, he also directed. And I love that Star Trek movie. So really, that movie in and of itself made me think, oh, you know what? Maybe he can do a good job. Yes, as you can see, I did the research. He stayed on as producer. 2017 apparently was the UK release of Space Jam on Blu-ray. Pretty random, but whatever. Cool they got Space Jam on Blu-ray finally in 2017. Good for them. 2018, Ryan Coogler was announced as the producer of the film. Spring Hill Entertainment released a promotional teaser image, officially announcing the film for the first time, officially announced in 2018, with production setting to begin in 2019. They finally announced that the film was going to come out. So Ryan Coogler, he worked on this stuff. Yes, he worked on Creed, and the Black Panther movies. And once again, just like the other guy, he stayed on as producer, but he did not become the director. My opinion of why they wanted Ryan Coogler to maybe direct the film is because they wanted like a cool urban vibe for Space Jam 2, which I like that idea. I think that's a cool idea because I loved the Black Panther movie. And I didn't really like Creed that much. I liked Creed 2, but I loved Black Panther, so I thought this could be a cool choice for him to be involved in the Space Jam movie. I don't think he was as involved as they wanted him to be originally. 2018 was the year where, on YouTube, the original work print for Space Jam was leaked. The work print for a film is basically when the film is not completed and they still have work to be done. I got to see some footage of this before it was deleted on YouTube. I still saved the videos. It includes extra dialogue and extra animation that was not in the final version of Space Jam. Like this shot of Knot and here of Pound. And I thought it was really cool. I loved getting to see all this extra stuff that I wish they kept in the film. It was amazing to see, and how rare it was, and how fuzzy it is. It was a holy grail thing for sure. So really, the two holy grails of Space Jam are the Monstar's Secret Stuff Bottle and the work print for Space Jam 1. Even the beginning where Bugs is standing by the logo, defying gravity, he has a weird moment where his mouth stops moving or whatever. So this really was a work print, and there were certain things I wish they kept in the final version. 2018, this is still a work print. One of the most interesting things about the work print is that the final score of the game is different than the final movie. The final score in the original, all us fans know, is 78 to 77, and that's supposed to mean something in the occult of numerology with MJ. But in the original, the final score was supposed to be, the Tunes were supposed to win 90 to 89. Interesting, right? Why did they change that? Was it just for the numerology? 2018 was the DVD release of The Stars of Space Jam. 30 Looney Tunes Adventures with the Intergalactic Heroes of Space Jam. Also, if you get the Stars of Space Jam DVD, you get to see this extremely rare cartoon of Taz as Santa Claus, which is not on the regular Looney Tunes Golden Collection sets, so get the Stars of Space Jam Taz set, or the DVD. They started airing this new cartoon that they called New Looney Tunes during this time. I got to see some of these episodes, and let me know what you guys thought of New Looney Tunes, because I thought that it was mixed for me. It was pretty bad half the time, but also it had potential. Like, it wasn't terrible, and I thought it was better than the Looney Tunes show, but it was still not quite the way it was, how it used to be, and it wasn't as funny. But anyway, it's significant to me because Lola Bunny returned in cartoon form in 3 episodes. And the Lola in this new Looney Tunes cartoon was different than the Lola Bunny in the Looney Tunes show. So just like in 2007, or not 2007, just like how they had the original Lola in the comics, they also had this version of Lola was more like this Space Jam Lola, but they still changed her a little bit to make her more loony, to make her a funny character, as opposed to how she was just being a cool character in the original Space Jam. So I really like, actually, this version of Lola from New Looney Tunes. I think it's way better than the version of her from the Looney Tunes show, because she is a little bit funny in this, and she has moments where she's acting like a traditional Looney Tune, and I think that's pretty neat. They kept her original design. This is like Heir to the Throne. And they had her doing random things just like how they did in the comics, where instead of delivering pizzas, she was like a knight. She was riding cars. I saw one where she was like a mechanic. Pretty cool that they did this. And again, seeing this new version of Lola with the new Space Jam 2 coming out soon, I was like, oh, okay, so like Lola, the original version of Lola is still going to be around. They didn't change her completely, like, you know what I'm saying? They didn't replace her with the one from the Looney Tunes show. They kept the original Lola still around. Like, this version of Lola is a balance where it feels kind of like the character from the original Space Jam, but just more loony. That's the best way I can describe it. It's a nice change. 2019, a special year, we get the first image of LeBron tweeting a picture of him wearing a Toon Squad jersey and a Space Jam 2 logo. At the time, this was very controversial. A lot of people hated this, but, you know, I just don't understand, like, fans of the new Space Jam or LeBron and all the drama with it. It's like, I love the new Space Jam. I feel indifferent about LeBron. I just hated the reaction from everyone far and wide. No one was like me. No one was like, oh, I'm excited. Everyone was like, I either hate LeBron, or I think this is stupid, or people liked the new Space Jam coming out only because they were LeBron fans. Not because they were Space Jam fans, but just because they were fans of LeBron. And it's like, you guys aren't fans of Space Jam, though? You're just LeBron fans? Like, I gotta keep reminding people, Space Jam is not, it's not the LeBron movie that so happens to star the Looney Tunes. No, it's a Looney Tunes movie that happens to star a celebrity. Just like how Space Jam was with Jordan And in Looney Tunes Back in Action, when they had Bren Fraser, these are Looney Tunes movies. They could have starred any celebrity. The stars of the movie are the fucking Looney Tunes guys. These are the stars. This is like the B star. You don't see the movie for the human celebrity. You could just watch TV or some shit. You're here to watch Looney Tunes. They're Space Jam. You guys aren't getting it. And it's really annoying that the people are like that. Anyway, kind of wish they kept this logo, by the way, because I think it's charming and it fits in well with the original logo. But they could have changed it maybe a little bit more, because I miss the green, but whatever. 2019 was also this special video released by this YouTuber. It was called 24 Reasons Why Moonwalker and Space Jam are the same movie. Now, when I saw this video in 2019, my mind was blown. It made me realize that the original Space Jam was basically just redone ideas that they already did with Moonwalker. And yes, Warner Brothers also made Moonwalker, the movie. And both films star MJ, Michael Jackson, Michael Jordan. And there's all these similarities between both of the films. So, it's something to think about, right? In the year 2019, we also got a Space Jam themed court that people painted and was in Brooklyn, in New York City. And it's still there, guys. It's still there if you want to play on the Space Jam court. Isn't that awesome? I think that's so amazing. Honoring Space Jam, the greatest movie ever, on a court. Here it is again. 2020. All right, the year 2020. This special Looney Tunes comic came out with Lola dunking the basketball. It's like Lola is coming back, the basketball star of the Looney Tunes. Issue 252 in the year 2020. Amazing. Also, the same year, we have this other comic, and I picked it out on purpose because Lola is also here. Lola's still around, the original version of Lola Bunny. The year 2020 also gave us the release of the special Swackhammer LeBron sneakers. I actually own these, and they're colored after Swackhammer, the villain from the original Space Jam. Number 0, purple, bright green. The scales of Swackhammer, same colors. Isn't that awesome? This is a holographic trading card from the 90s. Would have been cool if this card came with the sneakers, by the way. Wouldn't that have been awesome? Honoring the original Space Jam, you got the scales. In the year 2020, there was a lot of rap albums that were released, or techno albums that were released, that were instrumental albums. Here we got the Space Jams 2, Volume 2, which was made by the Martinez brothers. This is like a techno pop album. I love it. The soundtracks, the music on it is awesome. So this is like fans making this, this is not official. But the biggest reason why it's here is because I think they did a phenomenal job with the art. Whoever put this together, you are awesome. Look how awesome this is. They put so much detail in this. And I know this picture of the boys here. It's from one of the old t-shirts. And here they used it again. A rare, great picture of Bugs and Daffy with their shadows. I love that this is here because it's like a video game. It's funny. It's just awesome. I love this cover. Really. I mean, look how amazing this cover is. 2020, I believe, I'm not 100% on this, but I believe this is the year they first introduced the new logo for Space Jam New Legacy. And I think this was the picture they showed us for the first time. And my life would never be the same after I saw this. I was like, wow, I can't believe it. This is the new logo. I loved it, but it's interesting. I don't know. Really cool, right? I love that the rings are more detailed and they have more color. And the A is stretched. It was like in the original logo, the J was through the rings, and in this, the A is through the rings. So they changed it. But I do miss the green color, and they didn't keep that. They made it blue this time. So that's the only thing I disliked about the new logo. And also the title, A New Legacy, still baffles me and confuses me. We'll talk about that in another video. I mean, can you guys tell me why it's called that? All right, anyway. 2021, we're almost there. A comic was released showing Daffy Duck mentioning how he's Stupor Duck, which is amazing, by the way. If you're a Looney Tunes fan, then you know who Stupor Duck is. There was an old, like, 40s or 50s Daffy cartoon where he was making a parody of Superman. He called himself Stupor Duck. And that was only one cartoon, and here it is. Daffy brings back Stupor Duck, like 50 years later in a comic. Amazing, really. And this is also here as a significance to Space Jam, because in Space Jam: A New Legacy, Daffy is Superman. So just like how they showed Lola was going to be Wonder Woman in that other comic years ago, before New Legacy came out, they were also showing us that Daffy was going to become Superman in New Legacy also. And here we have it. We finally come to the release of Space Jam: A New Legacy. The official release of Space Jam: A New Legacy. I always love this poster. And the merchandise. The minis. I love them. I still own them. The toys. The Brow. Doesn't Brow look like those old Dragonfly toys? Right? If you're old enough, you'll know what I'm talking about. I loved the cases they came in. White Mamba. LeBron looking like he's depressed. The toys are really cool. I just wish there was more of them. And you'd think there'd be more toys for the sequel than the first movie because there was more characters in the second one. But apparently not. I don't get it. I don't get it. Warner Brothers, I don't get it. So they had exclusive toys for McDonald's again, which is awesome. I was able to get some of them before they stopped having them. The Roadrunner was my favorite because when you move him, he dribbles the basketball. This is the premiere of Space Jam: New Legacy. The characters and the costumes. Here's some people having fun, shooting the balls, shooting some hoops. Zendaya, the beautiful and adorable Zendaya. Here's her at the premiere. She voiced Lola Bunny in the new movie. And I would have preferred the original actress to voice Lola from the first movie again. But she did a pretty good job, I think, as Lola, but still. It should have been the original person. Here's an awesome poster for A New Legacy. In 2021, they released a comic book adaptation of the movie, which is rare now, and it was exclusive only to Walmart. I own it, and it's amazing, and it has way more scenes in the book that weren't in the movie, in this comic, where it seems like there's all these deleted scenes from A New Legacy that they didn't have, but those scenes are in this comic. So really, check this comic out, guys, because it doesn't just look great animation-wise, but it includes extra dialogue and extra scenes that weren't in the movie. Like, you even get to see other planets that they went to in the comic that they didn't go in the movie. So, check out the comic. Here's another awesome poster for New Legacy, showing Marvin in the jersey, even though he didn't play on the fucking team in the movie. Also, Penelope in the jersey. Here we have a digital pinball game. I did get to play this. And it's kind of disappointing because it's not a real pinball machine like the original movie. So they were kind of being lazy here. So don't think I approve, but it's still neat they had it at all. More toys. Trading cards. I do own a lot of actually New Legacy trading cards. I'll show you guys another video. They had a commercial where the Looney Tunes appeared on Inside the NBA. And yes, Shaq and Charles Barkley with Bugs Bunny. Mind-blowing, because Charles Barkley was in the original Space Jam, right? And here Bugs sees him. And they don't mention the original events of the original movie or nothing. Isn't that just, it's a mind fuck to behold. You know, it's like, come on. And like Shaq should have been in A New Legacy. And also they had Ernie be the announcer for the big game in New Legacy. Why wasn't it all four of these guys? How come Shaq wasn't in New Legacy with Charles Barkley? Especially, it would have been cool if Charles was in it because Charles was in the original. And he's really funny. Charles Barkley is hysterical. And him and Shaq together, Shaq was always a funny person. And Shaq even had a rap song back in the 90s called What's Up, Doc? So Shaq and the Looney Tunes in Space Jam? Come on, they should have had this as a scene in the new movie. Why was this only a fucking commercial? Ridiculous. Still cool that it happened, but it just makes you frustrated. I mean, these guys aren't going to live forever, you know what I mean? They also had a little soccer commercial where we got to see more animation of them. Pretty cool. And they were talking about their big game coming up with the Goons. And I liked that. Pretty badass. There was a YouTuber called Professor Live, and they were dressed up as the Looney Tunes with the new jerseys. Look at Lola Bunny's face and Gossamer. They schooled people in basketball as the Toon Squad, as the Looney Tunes. Daffy dunking the ball. I love this video, and it was mind-blowing to see it. It was cool. The same year, we also got Space Jam New Legacy Monopoly. I own this game. And it gave us more art, which is cool. Again, Daffy did not play on the team in the movie. He was the coach, so him wearing the Toon Squad jersey is an anomaly. It's bizarre. You got the pieces. Pete, Algae Rhythm, Dom. At the board. They had a new video game, actually, for Space Jam: A New Legacy. And it was a fighting side-scroller game. Amazing. But it was only for the Xbox. And it was only like a digital release. So if you didn't own an Xbox, you could not play it. And to this day, I'm still pissed. Because the only way I was able to play this was through a friend who owns Xbox. But if I didn't have a friend who owned an Xbox, I would never experience this game, ever. And this was a promo they had before the game was released. They actually had a survey to fans where you could vote for what kind of Space Jam game you wanted it to be. I didn't like that a lot of people said they wanted it to just be a traditional basketball game because, come on, I mean, does it have to be a basketball game just because it's a Space Jam game? Can't it be something different? Come on. And I love that they changed it and they made it a fighting game. We already got a Space Jam basketball game in the past. So why not do something different? Now, what's interesting is that this game came out before the new movie was released. So it only includes 2 goons in it that you can fight, the Brow and White Mamba. Yes, this year, the Nerdlucks return. For all you who didn't know, they made this weird movie called Teen Titans Go See Space Jam with the new version of the Teen Titans, and they sit and watch the original Space Jam movie and they make commentary over the movie. The most mind-blowing thing about the movie is, aside from them breaking the third wall, is the fact that the Nerdlucks return. I wish they looked better, like animation-wise, that they did in the past. That's the one thing that pisses me off about this. But to be fair, they do look pretty decent. And it was amazing to see them again, but I wish it was under better circumstances. I did like this movie of them watching a movie. I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun, but it was, I don't know, it was interesting. It was whatever. I liked it, but it started making me think, does this technically make this a Space Jam movie? Think about that. Yes, they even had a scene where Robin and Cyborg went inside the Moron airship, and there was all this memorabilia from the original movie, and Robin found Michael's secret stuff in there. Mind-blowing, right? Just mind-blowing. They had a little mini 6-minute video called The Bunny and the Goat before the release of the new movie. where they had the Looney Tunes sitting on couches talking about the new movie. Also, they had the barbershop featurette. LeBron and another interviewer is talking to Bugs and LeBron. And Bugs is gorgeous in 3D. Here he is in 3D talking to the boys. Interesting. He looks really good here. I like how Bugs looks in this little 3-minute video. I mean, I kind of feel like he looks a little bit better in this than the actual movie when he was 3D. I don't know, maybe it's the lighting? I'm not sure. I mean, whatever. He kind of looks the same, but doesn't he look like he has a little bit more detail on his fur or something? I don't know. I'm not sure. They also released other merchandise. They had new Funko Pops. They had this Connect 4 Shots game, which I own. I got it to remind myself of how I was when I was a kid, because when I was a kid, I had all the Space Jam toys and stuff. So anything at the time I wanted to get. But another big reason to get it, just as a collector's item, is because it had more art. The merchandise for New Legacy was lacking in new art. The art for the original Space Jam had more... The merchandise for the original Space Jam had more artwork. And so I was kind of pissed with some of the merch for New Legacy because they kept reusing the same images a million times. And it's like right here, only on this cover for this Connect 4 Shots game, they have new art of Lola and Bugs together. How come this isn't on all the other merchandise? Come on. Lazy. These are the new sneakers they released. Bugs. I think it's supposed to be Wile E. Coyote. Awesome. Bugs again. Cool, right? These extremely expensive sneakers. Here we have the soundtrack for the new Space Jam New Legacy. I love the new soundtrack. I disagree with people. I don't think it's a bad soundtrack. The original is a better soundtrack, but I love the new soundtrack. Also, they had a trailer for the soundtrack, which included a new animation that wasn't in the final movie. So that's another reason to watch this trailer, so you get to see the Looney Tunes in Space Jam garb in other scenes that aren't in the movie. In the same year, ESPN aired a 30 for 30 mini documentary where they commented on the final game in the original Space Jam. I thought it was interesting. I loved that they did it, but I hated the execution, quite honestly. They had this one tiny clip of Daffy, and he looks terrible. And his voice is also really off. I don't know. It's just, what the hell is that? That looks like some, that doesn't look like official, but it is. The Toon Squad never played another game. They remain undefeated. That was cool that they had that text at the end, because it's true. Disbanded after the game. They murdered their owner by shoving him in a rocket. It had funny moments because it was like a parody. As much as you can take a final game of the Looney Tunes seriously in this like 30 by 30 for 30, but wouldn't it have been cooler if they pretended even more that it was dire? If they pretended like it was serious? It was mostly a joke, and it kind of was like, whatever, So, 2021 was the 25th anniversary of Space Jam. And I loved, they had a tiny bit of merch for this year of the original, but just a tiny bit. They had this like special edition coin you could buy. And I love this box. It's got all the art on the side. This coin is pretty expensive, and I don't really know if I want to get it. But it is cool, Kind of reminds me of the original silver coin from the VHS tape. But that one's still $10 to get that original coin. This is like way more expensive. Now this I'm going to talk about more in detail in another video. But actually, they released a digital comic, okay? And it was only in digital. And it's extremely, extremely rare. And it's a comic where it's the Looney Tunes on the Toon Squad again. And they have another basketball game, a rematch, with the Monstars. I mean, doesn't it just blow your mind? And what's interesting about this digital comic is that it takes place before New Legacy in the timeline. So, I'll talk about this in another video in detail, but this comic basically, if you hated New Legacy, this is the real Space Jam 2. Because LeBron is not mentioned at all in it, and Jordan's not in it, but they talk about a rematch with the Monstars. And it's like, here you go. This is the real sequel. And it's interesting. Really interesting. Through a lot of luck and digging, a lot of digging, like Bugs Bunny digging underground, I was able to find the pages for the comic. And so I printed them, and I'll show them to you in a different video. But it's just mind-blowing to me because it's like, I can't believe this is real. And of course, people barely know about it. You had to make a fucking digital comic. Warner Brothers, they've been doing too much digital shit lately. Like, the whole thing of Space Jam is that it's supposed to be down to earth, so it's supposed to be less digital. But whatever. But it's a missed opportunity because it should have been a real comic, I mean, it is a real comic, but it should have been a physical release, you know what I mean? It's like, come on. And one extra year after the Space Jam New Legacy, I thought I'd mention one more extra year. 2022 gave us the 4K version, Ultra 4K HD version of the original Space Jam. This is the sharpest and cleanest version of Space Jam, so it's far superior to the 2016 Blu-ray. This is the one you want to get because this is everything the Blu-ray should have been. And I got to see some of it. I do own it, but the only way you could see the HD 4K stuff is if you play it on a 4K television. And I don't own a 4K television, but what I've been able to see on the internet for it, it looks so crisp, and I love it. Now, I'm old school, so I always I prefer it when it looks fuzzy and old. So I always will love the old look of film. But it's still awesome because it's a new experience to experience Space Jam, where now you can see every detail of the stuff in the background that was hard to notice in the original film, like all the tunes in the stadium and stuff like that. And I love it. Also, the same year, we got the 4K version of New Legacy with an amazing looking cover, I have to say. Love this cover. Look at how awesome this is. Now, doesn't this cover look like a VHS cover? Speedy? That's what this looks like to me. Well, there you guys have it. This is the official timeline for Space Jam. I hope you guys like this video. Please like and subscribe. My name is SuperPat98, and I'll be making more Space Jam videos in the future. Let me know what you guys think. Did I forget anything? Did you learn anything? Did you have fun? So, that's all, folks.